Good morning, everybody. Happy almost Thanksgiving. I'm going to give it a minute or two here for everybody to file in, and we'll get going on the live today for the forecast. If you're traveling, let us know where you're headed. Drop it in the chat. Ask any questions you do have about the travel forecast, whether you're flying or driving, doesn't matter. Across the U.S., just let us know where you're traveling to, where you're traveling from. Say hi too. Yeah, we love to know where everybody's watching from, where you're headed, especially for the Thanksgiving holiday. How fun. But like I said, I'll just give it a minute here for people to file in, get situated. If you do have the Weather and Radar app downloaded, feel free to pull that up now because you can follow along with all the tools I'm going to be showing you today right on your app. And you'll be able to use that throughout your trip as you are traveling, whether you're flying or driving, or if you're even staying home and waiting for your family and friends to come on over. You can check out what the forecast is for them as they're heading through, right? So be sure to just bring up those tools that you can use throughout this live, and so you get to know it better. We hope you all have a lot of really fun travel plans for Thanksgiving. Maybe you're seeing family, maybe you're seeing friends, maybe you're going on vacation and taking advantage of the holiday and just relaxing. So whatever you're doing, we hope you have fun with it and you enjoy this forecast so you know exactly what to expect throughout your Thanksgiving holiday and for the travel days especially. We are in the busiest travel days of the year, and tomorrow I think is the peak as well for the travel day. So you're going to want to know what's going on weather-wise and how much more time you have to give yourself if you're going to be doing that. So that'll be good to know as you go about your time. Alrighty. Just make sure everything's all good on my end, and we'll get started with the forecast. If you do have the Weather and Radar app downloaded, go ahead and bring that up now so you know exactly what we're looking at. Get to know the tools a little bit as we go through the items that I'll be showing today. Alrighty. Well, as you see behind me on the weather radar, we are pretty much split 50-50 here across the U.S. as far as active weather versus non-active weather. We've got some pretty non-active weather across the west. However, the east is looking pretty cloudy. We've got a big storm system moving through. A lot of people are going to be dealing with a super soaker event, even some severe thunderstorms, even some wintry weather as we're seeing already on the weather radar. So let's take a deep dive into what's actually going on over here in the eastern U.S. Here on the weather radar, you can see what is going on. So we've got a low pressure storm system. You can see the low is the circulation that's happening over here, up here in the Midwest. And we've got this cold front sticking out ahead of it too. So that's going to be pushing east and northeast throughout today and even into Wednesday, the busiest travel day of the year. So those of you who are traveling anywhere pretty much along the East Coast are going to want to keep a close eye on this weather system as it moves through. A lot of areas are seeing heavy rainfall. A lot of places could see, especially across the Blue Ridge Mountains here, just on the eastern side of the Blue Ridge, here from North Carolina into Virginia, could see up to 4 inches of localized totals of rainfall from this storm system. And that's going to be moving through the next 24 hours or so before moving out on Wednesday. But wow, that's a lot of rain all at once. And areas that do have flash flood issues, that puddle easily, whether it's in your neighborhood or where you're headed, keep a close eye on that. Never drive through a flooded roadway. You never know if the roadway is actually underneath those waters. It happens a lot where people drive through those and there's no roadway, and they, unfortunately get caught up in those flood waters. So keep a close eye on that. You're going to be seeing a lot of flood watches that come through this area, I suspect, as they move, as the rain does move through this area. But nonetheless, heavy rain is going to be moving here across Florida Panhandle, all the way up into the Ohio Valley, lower Great Lakes, and into the Northeast here in Mid-Atlantic. So wherever you're getting rain today, it's going to be quite a bit. So you can take a look at that on the weather radar. We do see we have some wintry weather happening here too. And before I move into that, I'm just going to double check for any questions as we're just starting off here. Make sure everybody's all good. Perfect. Alrighty. So if you're just joining us, welcome. We're on the weather radar right now, taking a look at the East Coast storm that's happening. So if you're headed anywhere on the East Coast, or if you're traveling from the East Coast, something you want to pay attention to. So the wintry weather that's happening here is happening in the higher elevations, in the getting into the Shenandoah Valley and into the Blue Ridge Mountains here in West Virginia, all the way up into the Alleghenies here into Pennsylvania, and into the higher elevations of the Appalachians of Pennsylvania, into the southern New York here. So got some wintry mix going on. We've got some snow and ice happening here, and you can tell the difference on the weather radar especially. You got the orange, the pink. Those are telling you the difference between what kind of wintry precipitation is falling. The pink is the snow, the orange is the wintry mix and ice. Something that's going to be pretty difficult to travel through, so you want to pay close attention to this as you are going throughout your travel plans today. And that's just going to move on up into the Northeast, and I'll get to that in a moment. Additionally, we are seeing here across southern Wisconsin some snowfall happening here. Might be pretty exciting, though, for some people that are getting into the holiday season, holiday spirit. You got some snowfall happening here, so that's pretty exciting. But if you are traveling through it, just take it a little slow. Be sure to give yourself some extra time. You might already be giving yourself some extra time because of the heavy traffic, but nonetheless, gonna need a little bit more just because the weather is pretty active. So keep an eye on that. So let's take a look at where this storm is going to be headed to and what you're going to be seeing throughout the day. And I mentioned severe weather, so we're going to look at that as well. So we're going to push into the today portion of the weather radar, and you can see here we got some forecasted lightning popping up here across the lower Mississippi Valley, deep south area into the Florida Panhandle, and then into the Gulf Coast. So we've got some severe weather possible here across the lower Mississippi Valley, lower Tennessee Valley as well. There's actually a slight risk for severe storms, so let me pull that up really quick on what that looks like. Transition that. So you can see there on the screen. Let me pull this across a little bit. There we go. So you can see there on the screen that we are looking at the slight risk for severe weather in this area. Let me pull that across. There we go. Now you can see a little bit better. So we do have a slight risk for severe weather across the lower Mississippi Valley, as well as a marginal risk extending into the lower mid-Atlantic and into the Carolinas here. So what that means is a slight risk is a level 2 out of 5 for severe weather, and we're going to be seeing some isolated severe thunderstorms across the area, really in the marginal risk, but a little bit more scattered here in the slight risk area. And so what that comes with is the threat for isolated tornadoes across this area, mostly through much of the southeast here. So tornadoes are possible. They've been happening since yesterday, actually. They happened across the lower Mississippi Valley into Louisiana and Mississippi, and have just chugged across east because of the storm system into the Florida Panhandle here and up into Alabama and southwestern Georgia. So we are seeing a tornado threat for today due to the storm that is moving through. So a couple of things you're going to want to pay attention to. Not only are you thinking about you got your holiday travel going on, but could also have a couple tornadoes pop up in this area due to the storms that are moving through. So make sure you do have at least 3 ways to receive a weather warning on your phone, on your whatever you're bringing, with you. You want to make sure you just have plenty of ways to receive weather warnings so that you're extra aware of what's going on in that area, especially if you're traveling to a place that's not as familiar. So that's going to be very important as you move throughout your day, move throughout your commute, move throughout your travel. So we also do have a damaging gust threat as well. So those people that have the higher profile vehicles, semis, big buses, trucks, things like that, you're going to want to pay close attention to these wind gusts that are moving through, because of the damaging winds can easily topple over those kinds of vehicles. So kind of stinks when you're traveling like that as well. So keep a close eye on that. And we do have with those storms, we have the heavy rain threat as well. Let me pull up what that looks like too. From the Weather Prediction Center, we got an excessive rainfall threat here, a level 1 out of 4. So luckily, it's more isolated for flash flooding threats, but that extends all the way from the Florida Panhandle into southern New Jersey across the mid-Atlantic here too. So you could see, like I said earlier, we could see really 3, maybe 4 inches, especially across the area of the eastern sides of the Blue Ridge here. So those areas are going to be more prone to flash flooding today as the storm system does move through. And this extends into early Wednesday morning, about 8 o'clock Wednesday morning, 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock Wednesday morning. So something you really want to pay attention to as well. Travel day today is going to be a little messy across this area nonetheless. So we are looking at just a strong system that is going to be affecting much of a large area that's going to be traveling today. It's along I-95 and all of that. Let me double check for any questions here as we're moving through. Awesome. Alrighty, and if you do have a specific travel question, if you're heading somewhere specific, drop it in the chat. I'll be able to address that for you. Alrighty, let's take a look at the rest of the U.S. Actually, let's first of all, before I move into that, we've got the rest of what's going on with this big storm system. So let me cover that first. So where it's headed is just mostly across the East Coast, and it's going to get into the Northeast later today. Those of you traveling along I-95, really anywhere from north to south, south to north, you're going to be running into this at some point. So it's going to be moving through today and bringing some wintry weather as it moves into the Northeast mostly, but the heavy rain's really going to stick to mid-Atlantic southward, and about Pennsylvania southward, and then the severe weather across the Southeast. So big weather system you want to pay attention to today. Luckily, if you're thinking about heading out earlier today, that is best if you're in the Northeast, because the wintry weather does kick up more so in the evening after dinner and into the overnight hours as it gets into the eastern New York area all the way up through Vermont, New Hampshire, and Maine. So we're going to be seeing that through the overnight hours. So if you're thinking about going overnight, I would hold off, just because it's going to get pretty messy here across the area. So maybe put off that until later tomorrow, possibly, or leave earlier today if you can. Just take the opportunity to take a look at the weather radar forecast before you do hop on the road, or check your flight status as well, so that you know exactly what's going on. So this is first thing tomorrow morning. This is 9 o'clock tomorrow morning across the Northeast. You can still see we've got some mix of snow and rain here across the lower Northeast, interior Northeast. But New Hampshire on up into Maine, you're pretty wintry. You look more like Christmas than Thanksgiving tomorrow. So really pay attention if you're headed out for that busiest travel day of the year across the Northeast. All right, as you can see, the Eastern coast is the busiest part. So we're going to take a look here at the rest of the U.S. Central U.S., you are awesome for all of the travel that you can do. You're going to be doing it in mostly sunshine. You will see some gusty winds maybe kick up today, so let me bring that up too as that storm was moving off to the east, because we've got some colder temperatures moving in and replacing the warmer temperatures that have been around too. So some gusty winds could kick up here across the northern plains, getting up here. So let's take a look at the wind radar. So those of you who have high-profile vehicles, maybe you're bringing those for the holiday, just pay attention to those areas across Wyoming, into Montana, and into the Dakotas a little bit too for those gusty winds. Other than that, Central U.S., you are good to go for your travel today. Nice and quiet weather, so you couldn't ask for better than that when it comes to traveling. So you'll be good to go for that. It just will be cold, so make sure you pack some sweaters and coats. Let's take a look at tomorrow here. So as I said before, that East Coast system is really going to be moving out for much of the area. This is about lunchtime tomorrow, so we're going to be seeing some thunderstorm activity here just across the southeast, but that's going to be moving out here after lunch. So thankfully, it's going to start clearing up through tomorrow. Have some scattered clouds here, but mostly higher elevation rainfall moving through across the Appalachians. So really does clean up tomorrow. Just give yourself some extra time just in case you do run into some of those downpours. Like I said earlier, you got the far northeast is going to be dealing with the most. All right. For tomorrow as well, this is when the Pacific Northwest does start to get a little bit more active as we have a new storm system moving through. This is really early tomorrow morning. We've got some rain and mountain snow moving in across the Pacific Northwest. So anybody in Seattle, Portland, Spokane, Washington, you're going to want to keep an eye on this storm system moving through. Or if you're staying home, perfect. You don't have to worry about it. But we do have a storm system moving through that is eventually going to bring some good, significant snow here across the northern and central Rockies. So as we can see this develop over time for tomorrow. And then I'll show you what Thanksgiving Day looks like here as well. So if you're waiting till Thursday to travel across here, if you're waiting till actual Thanksgiving Day to travel across here to see the lack of traffic, you might run into a little bit more weather. So that's something to pay attention to as well. As you can see, it does really turn into a big snowy system as it does move inland across the northern Rockies and down into the central Rockies. So something you're going to want to pay attention to over the next couple of days if you're planning on traveling Wednesday into Thursday. Other than that, Other than a couple of showers and maybe some thunderstorm activity across the southern tier here coming off the Gulf on Thursday, pretty much everybody is okay for Thursday. You know, other than we've got that big snowstorm happening across the northern and central Rockies, Thanksgiving Day looks great for everybody. Maybe a little bit of lake effect snow here in northern New York, but Thanksgiving looks awesome. I'm going to double check for questions one more time before I close out here. Heading to Boulder. Maybe some snow. Boulder, Colorado, let's take a look a little bit closer here. So later this week, because of this snowstorm that is moving through, it's going to be moving east and south. We could be seeing some snow chances here across Boulder, as you can see, getting into, this is Thanksgiving Day. This is Thursday evening. So that storm system is going to be moving south. So yes, good chance for snow this week. So you'll get Christmas and Thanksgiving all at the same time. Alrighty. Well, thank you all so much for tuning in. I hope this helped for your travel plans. Be sure to pull up the weather radar anytime that you need it for taking a look at your forecast. Doesn't matter if it's a holiday or not. Also, I do want to pull up really quick before we go here. I want to show you a really cool tool that I launched earlier this year that will be really come in handy here as you go about your holiday travel for the next couple of days. And it includes weather and radar, which is perfect. Alrighty. So we are on Android Auto. Those of you who have Android Auto capability on your vehicle, we are on there. So you'll be able to see the weather radar and the rain radar as you go about your day and your trip. So this is pulled up right on weatherandradar.com, and I will drop it in the chat as well so you can get to know it if you haven't seen about it yet. And you'll be able to use it and see what kind of weather is in your area as you're driving through. It'll show you a little icon of where you are and the weather around you. So a really good tool to have, especially if you're hitting the road for this holiday season, so that you can be weather aware the entire time and know exactly what you're going to be running into. So let me drop that in the chat too, just so you all have that. Alrighty. Well, if you are traveling tomorrow, tune in tomorrow. We're going to be live again at 10 o'clock Eastern, 9 a.m. Central on YouTube. So you can go ahead and hit the notify me button if you need to get that forecast and have that ready to go. It'll send you a notification tomorrow right before we go live. And you'll be able to see that updated forecast for your travel time. Thank you all so much for joining me today. Happy Thanksgiving, and we'll see you tomorrow.